right, guys. Welcome back to Full Circle with Joyce. And right now we want to talk about housing, okay? Affordable or low-cost housing here in Kenya. For you guys, I don't know how many of you are interested in purchasing a home. You can let me know, 22999. But maybe you've also felt really frustrated by that process, really discouraged by that process simply because of the costs that you see. And I don't know, when you drive around the city, you see these huge apartment blocks coming up and you just wonder who is going to live here, because some of them look super fancy. Yeah. They're asking for like 18 million shillings, 23 million shillings, 30 million shillings. Nikina nani hawa wananunua hizo nyumba? I just want to know. 22999 is the SMS sign if you have the answer. But right now with my guests in studio again, Joel and Robert here, who I have to say are very dapperly dressed. You guys look really sharp, by the way.
Thank you.
This is a green suit.
Yes.
I like it.
Of course.
And you have grey shoes on.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it. All right, guys. Why is housing in Kenya so expensive, Joel? You work with a property company. You buy and sell. Yeah. And still, in 2019, for many Kenyans, owning a home is such a distant dream.
Yeah.
Right? Like we come from the villages and our rural areas, and it's like you come to the big city and you really hope to own a home. But for many, it almost seems unachievable. Why is it that it is so expensive, and yet, of course, housing and shelter is one of our most basic needs as human beings?
Thank you for the question. I think mostly boils down to, expense boils down to three things. Number one, the cost of construction. If you look at the actual figures in the country, it's about 30 to 40% as compared to other countries for construction.
Our costs are 30 to 40% more
above,
expensive.
Yes, for construction. And then the titling process, like maybe I know he will expound on this. The titling process takes a very long time. Like if I want to transfer a title from you to me to the developer, I buy land from you to come and develop, and then transfer the same title to the person who's going to buy. It takes a very long time and a lot of money.
Not
for
to forget that sijui mara file imepotea mahali.
Yes. And there are still people who are corrupt in the same system who are going to ask for something.
Right.
That process, those two things makes things very expensive. Lastly, it's about the land. Urban land is so expensive. It costs about, for a construction process to start and finish, it will cost you about 60%. Just
for
the land. Reason being, you'll find a developer by the end of the day, he's the one who's going to do everything to do with sanitation, water, and the roads.
Right.
It's not the county that comes and does that.
Isn't it supposed to be, though, the county?
It's supposed to be the county.
But it just doesn't happen?
Yes, it just doesn't happen. They're supposed to come and, if I start a development here, they're supposed to come and make sure we have land, we have roads up to that development. Make sure there's sanitation, make sure there's water, and make sure the sewerage system works. Right. But the developer is the one who takes up that cost. Understood. And in turn, as a developer, I'll in turn take the same cost to the buyer.
Well, talk to me about why is that cost, though, for construction? You've said 30 to 40% higher than everywhere else, yet we have all of these quarries and mining mills here in Kenya. What is it that is making that cost so inflated?
Now, that one, I'll put it in aspects of professionals, first of all. You'll find if I want to start a development, I buy the land. If I'm going to buy materials from, say, the places where guys get the stones from, before I get them from there's a broker between me and the person. Then there's another broker in between. By the time I get to the person who's actually supplying for me, it makes it quite expensive. Okay. When it comes to electricals, most people don't even follow the process of hiring a good electrician to actually do it. They will bypass that. At the end of the day, that in turn will make that process even more expensive, and they still have to pay legal fees for it.
I'm going to come back and ask you about off-plan housing and buying off-plan nowadays, because that's been presented as an option for so many Kenyans. But Pia, there's been a few issues with that as well. But coming to you, Robert, when we're talking about property, as an advocate, we always hear of these cases, right? Someone is being sued because something, has happened. They've not gotten their property as expected. What are the first things one should be considering when they're thinking about buying a property?
Well, the first thing that you must think about that most of us bypass, you get money, you're in a hurry to buy property, The person you're buying property from tells you, you know, this offer
Cash
is
sale.
it's cash sale.
Expires
It's
tomorrow.
only today.
Today, actually.
Yeah. If you don't give me a deposit of 2 million shillings
Right.
today, I'm selling it to somebody else in the evening. All right. So you're in a hurry. And then, of course, you know, Kenyans, not Kenyans actually, just most of us the way we are. It's human nature to try and avoid the expenses. So even cut down so many. You say, I don't need a lawyer. What do I need a lawyer for? The land is here. I'm given documents. I'll just prepare them. I'll, you know, take them to someone, stamp them, and proceed and present them for registration. A very big mistake we make. Because after all that, after you've been duped, the next person you're going to cry to is a lawyer to solve a problem that, you know,
Could have been avoided.
it could have been easily avoided. So the very first thing that we must do, and we must be very sober about this,
Right.
when you spot a property, find a lawyer, find an advocate. You know, make sure that the advocate has a current practicing certificate. The Law Society of Kenya has made it very easy. You go online, type the name of the lawyer, find out if the lawyer is active or not.
Okay.
Of course, after doing that, now the lawyer will go through, the lawyer will handle the transaction on your behalf. Tell the lawyer, I've spotted a piece of land or I've spotted a house. These are the title documents. Kindly take care of the process from here. You know, they handle the process on my behalf.
All right,
Of course,
so-
you know, they'll have to go and check. They'll do a search.
Sure.
Of course, confirm if the land is, you know, the land really exists. Because some land only exists on air.
Yeah.
Some houses don't exist at all. They only exist on air. They only exist on paper and all.
All right. So
Yeah.
due diligence, certainly.
Due
You need to
diligence,
engage
due
a lawyer
diligence.
from the very beginning.
Exactly. You must
All right.
do due diligence.
All right.
Yes.
Well, so bringing this back to now affordable and low-cost housing,
Yes.
we won't dwell too much on the definitions right now just because of time.
Yes.
But we basically want to talk about housing for Wananchi, that Wananchi can afford, right?
Yeah.
So we're not talking about the super wealthy that are paying, 60 million shillings. There are people who buy houses for like 100 million shillings,
Yeah.
right? These are not the people we're talking about. We're talking about everyone else. Seemingly, President Uhuru Kenyatta recognizes that and so put out this Big Four agenda for which affordable housing is one of the main pillars. In considering that then today, what will it take to actually house the majority of Kenyans? Because you saw that picture of Kibra.
Yeah.
You see how our people are living. It's shacks, right?
Yeah.
Of rusted corrugated metal and aluminum. How do we get our people into homes? In your opinion, as a property person, is the affordable housing plan viable?
It is. First, I'll put it in that aspect. It is. The problem is that now implementing it is a big issue. There are currently about 2,000 units that are being constructed under that affordable housing
And it's
in
supposed
Gara.
to be 500,000.
Yes.
By-
By 500,000, there's a deficit of 2 million units that are supposed to be constructed every year. So you have in the country, but in Nairobi alone, you have a deficit of 200,000. Now you find it is possible to have all this, but the systems that I was talking about, taking a developer from the development stage up to the point where the buyer buys that house, that process is so expensive. The private sector is unable to actually follow through in terms of delivery of all that, because there is no you'll tell a developer, I build a house in say take a place like Syokimau, I build a townhouse there or a maisonette for 3 million and sell it at 3.5. It's not possible, because the land alone will be more expensive than the house at that stated price. So the government, as it's saying that affordable housing it's doing affordable housing, if they actually have set up systems of where they're going to minimize the cost of all that construction process, that development process, and the sale process, the legal system process, it will be viable. Them doing it themselves works. Like the apartments they're building in Gara, it works because they're the ones who are doing it themselves.
Wow. Okay. So, are you hopeful for this Big Four agenda to particularly the housing one then, in light of what he's saying? Everything from hata fees zenu ndio anasema na zake kati ya nyinyi wawili ndio
because I'll charge you at least amount of 3% just to sell your house, and then he'll charge you more. You go to somebody else, will charge you more. So you that costs added up.
Of course, hapo amenihepa. But anyway, I would like to state this. Affordable housing is very possible in Kenya. For instance, we need to look at we need to have an arrangement where when you take a mortgage, there are actually low interest rates, and then you're given a longer payment period. Or we can come up with that, like in some developed countries, we have a tenancy scheme agreement, whereby you will pay 20% of the value of a house. Then now you pay your rental income. You pay rent to own. Right? So when you pay rent, in eventually, probably in 20 or 15 years, you get to own the house. It becomes very easy for people to own housing like that. Of course, there's another issue of the bureaucratic processes that are there in government ministries, whereby when you want to approve a development plan, when you want to process a title deed, it takes so long. It's such a corrupt venture, whereby if you do not bribe a government official, a county executive, that you are unable to construct a house. Yeah, it shouldn't be like that. And then there's also the issue of having idle land. We have huge tracts of land that are idle, that are owned by who is who in the country. You own such a huge tract of land, and there are no space for other people to do developments. If we can get into a situation where we not have, there could be joint ventures between the government and developers, whereby the government will give out the property, the land to developers to develop, and individuals are able to buy the houses and pay some money to the government. It becomes very easy to solve the problem of housing.
Okay, so some options here being thrown out as far as how to actually ensure that we do have affordable housing here in Kenya. But let me read a comment here on Facebook by Prince Moon, who asks, what's the cheapest house to buy cost-wise? I'd really like to know the budget early in this point. And it makes me think of also off-plan housing, because that's often been presented as the sort of more affordable way to go. But again, now unaona umeshatoa pesa, umetoa deposit, alafu unaona ka building kamekwama, aka kajiwe akajasonga for like 3 years, and lots of people have their investments, and now your money is tied in there. So what are people's options? How much are we looking at as far as budgeting for a decent affordable house here in Kenya? Joe.
Now that one will depend on, houses are always dependent on location. They say in property, location is everything. So if you are looking at staying towards the sides of the river, there are even apartments that go for 3 million, 3-bedroom apartments. There are companies which are a company called Edelman Properties. They build houses in those areas, and they are selling at 3 million off plan, as you say. I think the main thing I would talk about is track record of a company when it comes to off plan. You really, really have to, first of all, make sure you talk to a lawyer who understands these are companies that have been doing this and can deliver on this based on what he's looked at.
If I go into agreement with someone, right? Nimeona kanyumba pale sio kimao, it's going for 3 million off plan, and they say it's going to be finished within, I don't know, 2 years. Is that reasonable? And then it's not finished within 2 years. What sort of options do I have as a buyer legally against that organization after you've discounted your lawyer rates? But are there any options legally at that point? Because you see, they're big people, they have humongous legal teams behind them, and I'm just an individual trying to buy a home.
Of course, and on the issue of the lawyer rates, there is an advocate remuneration order.
That's true.
We actually charge in accordance to a certain scale.
Yeah.
We are not allowed to charge more or less.
Yeah. So
if
people
charge
should be
less,
mindful of that too.
of course,
you can find that on the
in the LSK or on Kenya Law Reports.
Yeah. So make sure you have a credible lawyer too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We're not supposed to. If you charge low, that would be undercutting. If you charge high, of course, that is another problem that we have. Of course, now in off-plan projects, like you stated, you have to be extremely careful. Extremely careful, because there are off-plan, there are individuals out there will collect your deposits and the company is dissolved, they're no longer there. You have, you know, like the way we had an issue with Thuraya Properties recently. Yeah, you know, we have to be very, very careful. Number one, if you have a good conveyancing advocate, a very good, and I'm insisting on the conveyancing part because you have lawyers who specialize in different areas. Some are not specialized in conveyancing matters, so you must be very careful. If you have a good conveyancing advocate, will draft your agreement properly, such that it protects you. There are clauses in there that protects you. You can get into an arrangement where it is an off-plan project, yes, but you pay your money in accordance to the progress of the construction.
Okay.
You say, if you've reached this level, I'm supposed to have paid you this much.
Okay.
If you get to the roofing stage, I'm supposed to pay you this much. Then I'm supposed to add you this much for the finishing part of it. So at the end of it all, you do not get to lose
So
as much. Usipeane tu pesa yote because you have the money and you want to pay it in a rush and all that. Don't do that, of course. And then another thing that you can also check in is the issue of the titling of the place where they're going to build.
Yeah.
You know, make sure that land is make sure that land does exist and the land is free from encumbrances. There is no mortgage, there is no loan on it. Right? Once you've confirmed that and the land the land has been transferred to the names of the developer, then you can ask for your own title. Because if they're doing an off-plan project on a particular piece of land, if let's say it's a bungalow or a mansionette, you should be having a title. Right? Make sure that that title is transferred to your name. So at the end of as they're building that, you know, you have a title document with you. All right? Another thing that... another thing that usually happens that, of course, this will be going overboard, but at times we advise you do, is you take personal indemnity from the directors of that company.
Personal indemnity.
Indemnity, yes. Whereby, I can explain that in simple terms, whereby a director guarantees that if the company fails to construct that house within that period of time that he has stated, then he will be personally liable to you. All right? He will be personally liable to pay you back your money with interest.
But so my challenge with all this is, a lot of the times they're the ones putting out the terms.
Yes.
Right? Ni wao wanatuletea contract.
Yes.
Ni wao wanatuambia sign here, sign there. How do I bring up these things when I'm not the one at that leveraging position? Of course,
it's simple. It's this way. The money is yours. You're the one looking for the house. They want your money at the end of it all. So they have a lawyer on the side. It is very advisable, extremely advisable. This is a must do. You must get a lawyer on the other side to represent you. So there'll be two lawyers in this transaction.
And if you see that they're hesitant, unfortunately my time is running out and I have to wrap up. But if then you're saying, if we see that they're hesitant to give you some of these guarantees,
don't buy.
That should be a good sign to us.
Don't buy. You don't have to buy.
Absolutely.
You don't have to buy. Keep
so
your money.
So we stop this rushing mentality.
Of course.
You don't really need it at that time.
No, you tulia. Keep your money. Yours, you'll get another property that is clean. If you're able to buy that, yes.
Sure. Joel Robert,
better
thank you
safe
so
than
much.
sorry.
All right.
Yeah.
Better?
You better be safe than sorry.
Absolutely. Better safe than sorry, guys.
Yes,
I really appreciate you guys for coming through. Very important pointers here that you've raised. The things that we often take for granted, right?
So get a good lawyer.
Get a good lawyer.
Yes.
And follow a reputable company, is what you said.
And a real estate agent who's reputable.
Right.
It's very important.
Yeah. All right, guys, we're going to take a short break right now as we get ready for our second hour. We're going to be looking at some change makers, and that's coming up next. This is Full Circle with Joyce. Stay tuned.